Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold video conference with chief ministers and administrators of states and union territories today and tomorrow. It would be Prime Minister's first such interaction with chief ministers after Unlock 1. In a historic decision, central government brings small nursing homes and doctors' clinics under MSMEs. Delhi government orders installation of CCTVs in COVID wards in the capital on the direction of Home Minister Amit Shah. Recovery rate of COVID-19 patients in the country rises to 52.46%. 1,80,000 people have recovered from the virus. Number of active cases stays at 1,53,000. Global tally of COVID-19 cases crosses 80 lakh. Total of 4,35,000 deaths reported across the globe. Global recovery rate stays around 47.8%. And security forces gunned down 3 terrorists in an encounter in Turkwangam area of Shopian in Jammu and Kashmir. Encounter broke out in early hours today. Hello, you're watching DD News and I'm Preeti presenting the bulletin. Our top story first. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold a fresh round of consultations with chief ministers and administrators of all states and union territories today and tomorrow through video conferencing. The 2-day virtual meet comes against the backdrop of rising number of COVID-19 cases in the country. This will be Prime Minister's first meeting with chief ministers under Unlock 1. Several relaxations have been made for public and businesses to ensure that economic activities hit by the lockdown gather momentum. States have been divided in 2 slots for the 2-day virtual meet. Today, Prime Minister will interact with 21 states and union territories. These include Punjab, Assam, Kerala, Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Tripura, Himachal Pradesh, Chandigarh, Goa, Manipur, Nagaland, Ladakh, Puducherry, Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Dadar and Nagar Haveli, and Daman and Diu, Sikkim and Lakshadweep. Home Minister Amit Shah spoke with all the chief ministers over telephone in the last week of May, just before Lockdown 4 was to end. And to talk more about that, our correspondent Arun Sharma is joining us. Arun, spell out the details of the virtual meet which the Prime Minister will have with chief ministers of different states and union territories today. And we also tell our viewers that tomorrow as well, the virtual meeting will continue with the rest of the states and union territories.
That's right. That's right, Preeti. It's a 2-day meet and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be interacting with the chief ministers in 2 parts. Well, when we talk about today, Prime Minister is interacting with the chief ministers of 21 states. Now, if you try to dissect that, which are these 21 states? Now, primarily, these 21 states are smaller states with less number of coronavirus cases, and the northeastern states of hilly region, and of course, as I said earlier, smaller states are today participating. So the strategy to combat COVID-19 as far as small states are concerned, that is different. And when tomorrow Prime Minister Narendra Modi meets the state, now these 15 states that Prime Minister is meeting tomorrow, these states are primarily larger states, bigger states. Now these are the states where the number of coronavirus cases are higher in number, and that's the main part. So strategies for both these 2 states will be different. Important part and good news, Preeti. Good news is that the recovery rate in our country is more than 52%. That means we have started to flatten the curve. That means recovery rate, I mean, the patients who have been cured or discharged from the hospital are now higher in number. and that of those which are active cases that are less in number. So now the focus of this meeting will be on how to increase the number of discharge cases, or the recovery rate, how can it be increased. So for that matter, this meeting is very much important. Many important and significant aspects are likely to be discussed, but the prime focus of this meeting will be on hospital or the health infrastructure. Number one, if in case we talk about the smaller states, what can be the strategy in the smaller states, and how can the number of active cases can be controlled, or how can the number the spread of the COVID-19 cases in smaller states can be stopped, so that the recovery rate can be increased. So that's the prime focus when Prime Minister interacts with the chief ministers of our country, and importantly 21 states. Second important part, apart from health infrastructure and proper health ecosystem, how can the specific health equipments like PPE kits, like N95 masks, like oxygen cylinder, ventilators, these can be provided to all the states, so that there is no deficit in any state in order to combat COVID-19. So there should not be any deficit with any states as far as health equipments are concerned. And how can proper health infrastructure can be created? That's the prime focus of the meeting. Second important part, how can testing be stepped up? Because the focus of the government as of now is that how can testing ratio can be increased and speed of the testing can be increased. Now the good news is also that now testing will be the result of the testing primarily will be available in 30 minutes. So government is now moving in a direction. The hospitals are now moving in a direction, so that the testing results can be out as soon as possible, so that the time can be saved in order to cure the patient. So that's an important part. Third important factor, which is of course affordability, because we know this fact that government is trying to rope in more of the private players. Private participation is invited by the government, so that private players and public, that means the government setup, both can come together to fight against COVID-19. So how can affordability can be ensured? Because we have various cases whereby affordability is being compromised, exorbitant prices are being charged at certain hospitals. So how can affordability can be ensured? Some roadmap so that there is an affordability as far as treatment of the patients are concerned, even in the private setup. So that will something be very much on the cards. So that's an important part. So when Team India today meets, that means center and states when meet together, some of these shortcomings, challenges will be ensured, so that the recovery rate can be increased going forward. And yes, the number of active cases or the coronavirus cases can be stopped or controlled. And that's the only strategy that the government will be forming as of now.
All right, so these are the immediate concerns up the sleeves of the government when the Prime Minister holds the meeting with state chief ministers and different union territories as well today and tomorrow. Thank you so much, Arun, for joining us with those inputs. And up next, we'll take a look at the COVID-19 update across the country. As per the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, a total of 1,80,012 patients so far have been cured of COVID-19, which means that the recovery rate has thus risen to 52.46%. Now, this is indicative of the fact that more than half of the positive cases have recovered from the disease. Currently, 1,53,178 active cases are under medical supervision. ICMR's testing capacity for detecting novel coronavirus in the infected persons is continuously being ramped up. And also, the number of government labs has been increased to 653 and private labs has been increased to 248. The total number of samples tested so far is 57,74,133. Union Home Minister Amit Shah paid a surprise visit to Lok Naik Jayaprakash Narayan Hospital on Monday to review the arrangements related to COVID-19. Amit Shah directed the Delhi Chief Secretary to install CCTV cameras in the corona wards of every corona hospital so that there is proper monitoring and problems of patients can also be resolved. Union Home Minister also directed the Delhi Chief Secretary that backups for canteens supplying food should also be established so that in case there is an infection in one canteen, patients can continue to get food without disruption. Amit Shah also directed that psycho-social counselling of the doctors and nurses engaged in service to humanity through the treatment of COVID-19 patients should also be done. Now, this will ensure that not only they are physically but also psychologically fit to fight the pandemic. On the instructions of the Union Home Minister, the Delhi government ordered the installation of CCTV cameras in all the wards of COVID-19 hospitals associated with the Delhi government. Delhi government has also ordered the installation of CCTV cameras in PWD Department of Delhi government in the next 24 hours. And there have been several reports indicating an emerging shortage of healthcare infrastructure, including hospitals with ICU beds, ventilators, oxygen-supported beds, etc. for management of COVID-19 patients. There have also been reports of overcharging by healthcare providers for COVID-19 treatment. Being seized of the emerging scenario, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has addressed the states and union territories to engage with the private healthcare providers to facilitate enhanced bed availability and critical care health facilities, as well as to ensure fair and transparent charges for services provided. In this regard, some states have already taken the initiative. They have reached an agreement with the private sector on reasonable rates and arrangements to provide critical care for inpatient admissions. The Ayushman Bharat package and CGHS package rates are already available with the states. The CGHS rates are fixed area-wise in order to ensure that patients receive prompt, good quality care at reasonable rates. It has been suggested to the states to have consultations with the local private healthcare providers and arrive at reasonable rates while factoring in the cost elements for personal safety equipments for healthcare providers. It has been suggested that the rates, once fixed, must be widely publicized so that both the patients and the service providers are fully aware and the capacities are used optimally. The states have also been asked to proactively engage with the private sector health providers and consider pooling in public and private healthcare facilities, as this will provide a prompt, good quality and reasonable health care to the COVID-19 patients. Also, in a major relief to small and mid-sized hospitals, the centre has granted micro, small and medium enterprises status to them. Now, this sector, which caters to around 85% of India's healthcare load, was bleeding with a shift in focus to service only COVID-19 cases, with a range of other services taking a backseat. Now, they will avail several benefits extended to the MSME sector. Small hospitals are typically 100-bed setups, while medium ones have between 100 and 300 beds. Large hospitals have more than 300 beds and offer primary, secondary and tertiary care. The massive evacuation of stranded Indian nationals abroad continues under the Vande Bharat mission. The evacuation flight from Dhaka is carrying stranded Indian nationals to Delhi and Ahmedabad under Vande Bharat mission phase 3. As part of the Vande Bharat mission, it is the first flight for people travelling to Ahmedabad. The evacuation flight is carrying 166 Indian nationals. Before this flight, more than 1,960 Indians have been evacuated from Bangladesh. A passenger on the Dhaka to Delhi to Ahmedabad flight thanked the government and High Commission of India for the evacuation process.
Today I am at Dhaka International Airport and I'll be boarding my flight to Delhi, and I am so grateful to the Indian High Commission here, as they have helped me so much. I was stranded here for last 3 months, and when I informed them, they helped me out with this whole situation.
Yesterday, around 3,224 stranded and distressed Indians returned from Toronto, San Francisco, Chicago, Colombo, Dhaka, Riyadh, Singapore, Jeddah, Muscat, Doha, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Dubai and Kuala Lumpur. Around 480 flights have brought back more than 90,000 Indians from 52 countries since May 6 this year. COVID-19 has impacted every part of life. The current situation has forced us to rethink our working pattern and try to find out more ways for smooth functioning of offices. NIC service platforms certainly play a vital role for developing a rapid network of e-offices in the hilly state of Arunachal Pradesh. A report from our Itanagar correspondent.
COVID-19 situation and related lockdown, implementation of social distancing norms have necessitated use of technology for continuation of government service and governance. Role of National Informatics Center NIC at the state of Arunachal Pradesh become all the more important due to the well-known challenges in communication infrastructure in the state, especially at remote areas.
It is running 24/7. We have to monitor it all the times. During COVID-19, actually, we have met our operation 24/7. That is already there, but then especially during night time also.
In order to ensure continuity of government services, NIC provides platform for e-office, software support administration under lockdown. During this period, NIC Arunachal has conducted video conferencing totaling about 1500 studio hours. The center has also made available the platform for online ticket booking system for state transport, which enabled the department to run special bus services for stranded people without selling tickets.
NIC is working in the field for quite long, okay, but the COVID has made some changes. We are trying to put web VPN kind of thing so that people can access e-office, which is a most important tool for governance. For COVID management, the IT tools are used. Huge data is coming about affected people, about stranded people. It requires management of them. And we are working on that also with state government.
NIC is working at the forefront to enable continuation of governance despite severe restriction imposed by the pandemic. With Dogin Randa, Sanjay Pratap Singh, DD News, Itanagar.
Kickstarting the Magnetic Maharashtra 2 initiative to draw investments to the state, MOUs worth 16,030 crore rupees were signed with investors from 12 different countries in the presence of Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray. Chief Minister Thackeray, who was in attendance via video conference, said the government will fulfill its commitment and small and big industries that will come in the state will not face any difficulty in setting up their industries. The agreement was signed with the United States, China, South Korea, Singapore and some Indian investors. Bilateral partnership agreements were also signed with the World Association of Investment Promotion Agencies and the US-India Partnership Forum. On the occasion, State Industries Minister Subhash Desai informed that about 40,000 hectares of land is reserved in the state for these industries. Instead of various licenses, now a single grand license will be issued in 48 hours. He also informed that an industrial labor bureau will also be set up. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister has announced an intensive lockdown in Chennai and parts of 3 neighbouring districts for 12 days beginning on June 19th. The announcement came after a cabinet meeting and the Chief Minister's meeting with health experts earlier today. In a statement, the Chief Minister said that the measure has been announced in view of the spread of the virus and based on the recommendations of health experts. No activities would be permitted in the containment zones, surveillance would be intensified and local bodies would ensure supply of essential goods in the containment areas and quarantined homes. However, the Chief Minister announced some relaxations for essential services during the 12 days. They include milk supply, hospitals, laboratories, pharmacies, ambulances and funeral hearse vehicles. Also, rental auto, taxi and private vehicles will not be allowed except for emergency medical services. Vegetable, grocery, mobile shops and fuel pumps are permitted between 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. Takeaway services will alone be permitted in restaurants between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. Food aggregators are permitted, but the staff will need to have identity cards. Tea shops will, however, remain closed and services for old age people and old age homes, disabled people and orphanages are exempted. Amma canteens and community kitchens run by the local bodies are permitted. Construction activities are permitted, availing workers on site during the 12 days of intense lockdown. COVID-19 has affected the lives of people across the world. The fight against the pandemic is led by corona warriors who are risking their lives for the well-being of others. Doctors, health workers, police and cleaning workers are in the forefront of the fight against the pandemic. 4 young men from Kuchulankra in Alappuzha district of Kerala voluntarily undertook the cleaning of a COVID care centre, where the majority of the corona patients are admitted in the district headquarters. A report from our correspondent there.
Chukangrara COVID Care Center is one of its kind in Alappuzha district, where most corona patients in the district are admitted into. 4 youngsters, C.S. Sujit, H.P. Harikrishnan, K. Vidyasagar and G.S. Sangeet, are doing the cleaning activities in the COVID Care Center for the last 28 days. These youngsters, who are all residents of Chukangrara, volunteer for taking up the cleaning activities.
The main issue here is the disposal of the remaining food. We know that remains of food will surely be contaminated as the rest is taken by the patients. After removing the remaining food, they cleaned the rooms. No one was there to clean the rooms. It was at the time the foremen came forward and undertook the task.
They are not able to engage in their jobs after taking up the cleaning of work. They are currently staying in the COVID care center due to safety reasons.
We came here for distributing food for the COVID care center. Then we got to know from the secretary that COVID center is unable to find clearing staff. We then discussed among us and decided to take up the job. From then, we are cleaning the center regularly. I have 2 boys, one 5-year-old and one 6 months old. I am meeting them only through video call these days. Same is the case with Sujit. Sometimes we feel homesick, but we will have to sacrifice some comfort if we want to eradicate the pandemic.
What these 4 youngsters are providing is invaluable service to the society. R. Ravikumar for TT News.
In Jammu and Kashmir, 3 terrorists were eliminated in an encounter that broke out at Turkwangam area of Shopian today. The operation has concluded and the identity of the slain terrorists is being ascertained. The encounter broke out in the wee hours today between the troops of 44 Rashtra Rifles and terrorists, and later the troops of 178 Battalion CRPF and Special Operations Group Zainapura had also joined in. Pakistani troops violated ceasefire by resorting to unprovoked firing towards Indian positions along the line of control in Tangdhar sector of Jammu and Kashmir's Kupwara district this morning. Army on Indian side gave a befitting response to the Pakistani aggression. Pakistan initiated firing mortars and other weapons, and there have been no reports of any casualties so far. In the latest turn of events concerning 2 missing Indian officials, Pakistani authorities have handed them over to the Indian High Commission in Islamabad. The staff went missing yesterday in the morning when they were on duty. The local Indian mission had raised the matter with the Pakistan Foreign Ministry immediately after it lost track of the 2 staff members. Days ago, Indian mission in Islamabad had alleged of harassment by veiled persons on behalf of that was on behest of Pak authorities. The development comes only days after India had expelled 2 Pakistani High Commission officials working in Delhi on charges of spying. Abid Hussain and Tahir Hussain, the 2 Pak officials, were working in the visa section of the Pakistan High Commission in Delhi. India has lashed out at Pakistan for perpetrating state-sponsored atrocities against its minorities. Exercising its right of reply in response to the statement made by Pakistan, India's First Secretary S. Senthil Kumar highlighted how a country like Pakistan, which was born out of religious fundamentalism, has serious credibility issues on human rights. India said that about 2,500 people of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa continue to be missing for their political, religious affiliations or defense of human rights.
Forced disappearances, state violence and forced mass displacements, harassment, extrajudicial killings, army operations, torture, kill and dumps, torture camps, detention centers, military camps are regular features in Balochistan. Nobody knows the fate of missing 47,000 Baluch and 35,000 Pashtuns till date. Sectarian violence has claimed more than 500 Hazaras in Balochistan and more than 100,000 Hazaras has fled Pakistan.
The government of Bangladesh has extended the ongoing restrictions till 30th of June to check the spread of COVID-19 in the country. The government has also introduced the zoning system, dividing areas into red, yellow and green zones depending on the severity of the COVID-19 infection. The local authorities and the health department will chalk out the detailed plan for implementing restrictions in the red and yellow zones. The areas under the red zone will observe general holidays with restrictions placed on movement of people and vehicles. All offices and shops except the essential ones will remain closed in those areas. According to the order, everyone must stay indoors between 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. No shops will be open beyond 4 p.m. Wearing of face masks, social distancing and other health guidelines must be observed by all. Movement of goods transport vehicles will continue. Public transport, including trains, airplanes, buses and waterways, will continue to operate on a limited scale. No public rallies, meetings or mass gatherings would be allowed. Earlier, in a separate order on Monday, the government had instructed that the educational institutions in the country will remain closed till 6th of August. And now let's get to the global update on COVID-19. Over 80 lakh people have tested positive for novel coronavirus worldwide, while over 4.36 lakh people have lost their lives. US continues to remain the worst affected country with respect to number of confirmed cases and deaths, followed by Brazil and Russia. Over 21.13 lakh people have been tested positive across the US, while over 1.16 lakh have died till now. Brazil is fast emerging as the new epicenter of COVID-19 outbreak, having recorded over 8.88 lakh confirmed cases so far, while Russia has reported over 5.36 lakh confirmed cases. And amidst continuous rise in the number of COVID-19 cases in Mexico, the economy of the Mexican city has reopened with proper implementation of measures to curb the spread of the virus. Restrictions from travel have also been lifted. Mexico has recorded more than 1,50,260 cases of COVID-19, with the death toll crossing 17,580. United States and China will allow 4 flights each between the two countries, easing a standoff on travel restrictions amid the novel coronavirus pandemic. United Airlines Incorporated and Delta Airlines Incorporated received approval from Shanghai government to resume flights to China. U.S. carriers halted passenger flights to China and flew only cargo services since February. China, too, in May limited the airlines to 1 international flight a week between China and any other country. The 2021 Oscars ceremony has been pushed back by 2 months due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Academy Awards were due to take place on 28th of February next year, but have now been put back until 25th of April. The Academy also extended the eligibility window of the movie released between 31st of December 2020 to end of February 2021. Nominations will be announced on March 15, 2021. The Oscars have only been delayed 3 times before, that is in 1938, 1968 and 1981. And Oscars is not the only big entertainment event to have been affected by COVID-19. Next year's British Academy Film Awards, BAFTA, have also been pushed back to April 11th, keeping in line with Oscars. That's it in this edition of the News This Hour. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.